Hey, welcome back to Currently Kent. In this video, you're going to see me doing a build inside of the Azza 804V Pyramid case. It's a new build from my wife's gaming PC, so stick around to see how we got on. So the first thing I want to talk about with this case is that it's built really well. It's a pretty premium case. You pay a premium price tag for it. So you would expect kind of a higher level of detail in the machining quality, which you can see here. This case does not come without quirks, though. There are a lot of things that happened in the process of this build. I think I probably took it apart and put it back together about 4 or 5 times before I finally got a feel for how you're actually supposed to go about building a PC inside of this chassis. When you first open the box, the case comes fully assembled, has all of the bobs and bits on the inside that you're gonna need to put it together. One thing that you might notice is missing from the case is an instruction manual. They don't send you one. You get one of these little business card here from Azza. So you can see there, scan this QR code basically here on the card, and then they take you to the website where the instructions can be viewed there. So basically what I found out was the first step you want to do is take off this cage here on the bottom by removing all of these screws here. And there's even a few more on the other side as well. Once the cage is removed, you can insert your power supply and then kind of do a little bit of cable management from there. Basically, I coiled up the 24-pin connector and some of the EPS and some of the PCIe cables, bundled them all together in the remaining space that was there inside of the little basket that the power supply resides in. Then put that whole assembly back together onto the PC case. After that, you're going to want to remove these 4 screws from basically where your front panel connections are. You'll remove these 4 screws here, and that'll give you access to a little bit more space inside. It's not much, but it's enough to tidy up some cables. From there, you're gonna wanna really think ahead. Before you install your motherboard or do anything else, think about where your cables are gonna end up for your fans, for your front panel connections, for your PCI connections, for your 24-pin, and for your EPS cables. Now here's the section that probably took me the most time to get sorted out and squared away was I couldn't figure out a cooler to use for this thing for the CPU. There's a 10900K in here and it's not a particularly great 10900K, so even at stock we're pulling around 240 watts. So we need a pretty decent cooler to be able to keep up with that. So we started here with an NZXT Kraken 360mm AIO. I'm not sure what was going on with it. I would suspect that maybe it's because the pump is housed inside of the where the cold plate's kept on that particular all-in-one liquid cooler, that it wasn't really performing very well. I would run Cinebench after I installed it and basically thermally throttle within the first 20 seconds of Cinebench R23. So my next thought was, well, let's try an air cooler out, because the way that the case is built, it's going to be hard to find any sort of all-in-one liquid cooler that's going to be more efficient than the Kraken would have been, given that the pumps are usually inside of where the cold plate is kept. First one that I tried was this Hyper 212 Evo. It's all black. It's pretty small in size, but hey, it's been around forever. It's a very popular air tower cooler, and I can see why. Easy to install, does a pretty decent job of cooling, but it still wasn't enough. So I went and got the bigger brother, the bigger version of it, this Cooler Master, the beefy one right here. It looks really great once it's inside the case. I actually am gonna keep this one for a future build. I don't know what build I'm gonna end up putting it in, but I think it looks great. Again, very easy to install, real similar to the Hyper 212 for installation, but the problem was that it just plain old wouldn't fit once I put the glass panel back on. So the next one went with here was a Downdraft Cooler. I was thinking maybe this would be the answer here from Noctua with the NHC14S. Only problem with this one was, again, the fitment was a little bit weird. It would actually foul up against the glass once I went to put it on. Now, Azza do list a lot of the specifications on their website, and you can go and look at them for certain clearances. Now, the clearances that are listed, I am a little bit confused as to how they arrive at those numbers, because it does say somewhere around, I think it's 95 millimeters worth of clearance for your CPU tower cooler, but at what point is that? Because it's not a vertical surface, it's an angled surface, given that this case is a pyramid. So where along the angle is my 95 millimeters for CPU tower clearance? I don't know. It didn't work out. Even the Noctua Downdraft Cooler, it still would foul up against the glass a little bit. It would have been livable, it would have been fine, but then somehow it happened to where I was watching a Level 1 Tech video, and he was doing a build, and he got an MSI all-in-one liquid cooler, and as he was talking about it, he said that they located the pump inside of the radiator, and I thought, well, that's perfect. So it was at Best Buy. I went out there that day and picked it up and brought it home and did some testing to see if it was gonna work out, and it fit the bill perfectly. So here's the rest of the build process. I'm gonna stop talking for a minute. That's pretty much everything you need to know from my end, and we'll come back after the build's done. All right, well, there you have it. It's a pyramid case, so it ends up about how you'd expect. And well, this is my wife's gaming PC, as I said. We were just kind of browsing around at cases. This one popped up and she gasped and was like, oh my God, I can't believe this is a thing, I have to have it. So, well, I built in it. And as we were looking at other pictures of people who had done builds in it before, she came across the strimmers that you saw in there, those blinky cables. So it was another must-have for this build. So, you know, hey, client builds, you do what you get paid to do. And I actually kind of like it, the way the RGB all comes together. It's pretty relaxing to actually just sit there and stare at. The system operates really quietly, which I am surprised as anybody to find that. Temps are all pretty well in check in gaming and under stress tests. So really, the only thing I can say about the case is that it's a little difficult to build in. I wouldn't recommend this for maybe even first or second time builders. You'll want to have a little bit of experience before you go trying to build in this Pyramid case here. But yeah, it was fun and I think it came out pretty good. So thank you all for watching and we'll see you next time.